Hello traders and investors, I'm LA Little and this is your daily NeoTA wrap. Take a look at these markets from a neoclassical perspective, and that means each time we're asking ourselves what happened today and what does it tell us about the coming ones. Do a show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday, broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time, archived on YouTube under the channel LA Little. If you want to subscribe to the show, just reach up in the right hand corner and do so. As far as what these markets did today, it was a blowout day to the upside, with huge gains recorded across the board here, 2% plus across all the indexes, same in Europe. Tonight you got a little pullback over in Nikkei, but it was up big earlier. Bonds sell off, gold, silver get whacked. Everything that was going up goes down. Everything that was going down goes up, and it does it in a big way. And that's because of the election, right? We had the news yesterday that the news 8 days ago is not the news anymore, and I'm talking about the FBI and their decision to investigate emails potentially tied to Clinton, and then yesterday telling us that there was nothing there. Market does what? Well, it gaps up and runs. It looks like volume expanded slightly to the top side. Now I'm looking at the SPY. The reason for it is I don't have quote volumes on the indexes yet. For some reason, they're running pretty late today. This takes us back, at least on the SPY, over the breakdown bar. I believe on the index it won't be. Let's get the volume off the Qs while we're here, as well as the IWM. That'll give us a sense of what they look like. Qs volume expands a little bit as well, and on the IWM, you have the volume actually shrinking a little bit on the upside. Let's pop over to the indexes now to see what the numbers look like. If you look at the numbers here, breakdown bars top 2131.45. Where do we close it? 2131.52, just over that breakdown bars high. That says you can keep this thing going. Now, after that kind of a spurt, right, 2.2%, big, takeaway, if you will. Swing point low, you got to look at the lows on the way back. They're going to be your retest regens right here. That's what you're going to see it try to get back over. If it does, then it says what was this way no longer is, probably is this way. And so that's the first step to turn this thing around. So that's what we'll be looking for next, is can you get over that swing point low. The fact that you're coming back within 6 bars says you should try to get into the top third of that, and that's essentially where we are tonight. So I think the big thing now is what happens next, right? Do you continue the bounce, or does it fall back? The fact that this is coming, this big move here is coming off the news on the election, and the election is tomorrow. That means probably Wednesday is going to be a wild and woolly day, and I suspect tomorrow you're going to see some volatility inside this area. So that's the way that looks. Let's look at the others right quick, see if they give us anything different. Big smack up here. Got a swing point low, just getting back into it. It hasn't quite touched it. That's on the NASDAQ. That would be within 6 bars as well. Let's see if it got into it. 51.69, and we touched it. 51.69.41. Didn't quite hit it. That's kind of interesting. So you'll want to actually see it get into it, because if it does, then it's also going to try to do the same thing, which says the S&P may in fact get over the top of it. NDX has been the strongest. NDX gets back into it. Looks like the S&P, and then finally, if we go back to the Russell's got a long way just to get back into it. So, this bounce can carry a long way, and be part of a consolidation potentially, if nothing more. So, I think the jury's out. I don't think tomorrow you're going to get an answer. Probably going to get that Wednesday, and it's all going to be about who actually gets elected, if someone gets elected. In other words, it's not a contentious election, and if the other side of the party agrees to it or tries to cause ripples. And so I think that's going to be the main thing that we're looking at. Let's look at the currencies, because we got a big, strong dollar reversal off of this. I'm curious as to how far it carried. Now let's see what it looks like. So volume expands, and pushes back into the swing point low. So here again, we're coming back into a retest regen off a prior break, that transition trend. And so you're hitting it, and you're hitting it with pretty good volume, it looks like. The breakdown bar is here. That's this bar, right? As you break through that swing point low, actually the break is here, not there, but that was the push. Volume not quite as strong. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that still looks okay. It's a pretty good bounce back into it. But I think the question is, does it carry through? And that's going to be the question on everything. And I didn't actually talk about it, but you know, the most dangerous thing now is a failed bounce that rolls back over, and that's the thing you got to be guarding against. FXE pulls back, comes into the gap area, volume expands there as well. Let's look at the yen. The yen had been going up, and boy, did that one get knocked back down. And so that's a pretty good whack. And let me see what Switzerland's doing in terms of its currency. Had been getting stronger, still pretty strong. Didn't really change it that much. Gold gets smacked down. Let's see how bad that looks while we're here. And back into this big bar. Gold's trying to get back to the bottom of this bar. This is where it wants to come back to. So we'll see if it gets back in that deep. I suspect it probably will. And finally, before we leave this page, let's take a look at the GDX itself, the gold stocks. And not too bad, but they're trying to get into the bottom of that same bar. Let's take a quick look and see if the major sectors are giving us any kind of a clue as what we should expect on the indexes. See if we get any election clues is what I'm looking for. I don't see it there on the biotechs. I'm also looking on the weekly, which you don't see on your screen. I'll pull it over if there's something useful. So the ITB, really nothing there. Let's see what the transports look like. Now the transports have been getting strong. Oh yeah, blowout move on the transports. Okay, so if the transports are the first one to give us a good clue of some follow through. And that looks very strong actually. And this has been strong for a while, and so this is just a carry-through breakout move taking place. The transports look like a go-to sector right here. Stocks had been a big mover. Huge volume comes into them, and not too bad. Still hanging at the highs, so that still looks okay. XLB, let's see what that one looks like. And yeah. Still not really telling us that much, so nothing there. Energy got hit pretty hard the last few days. Gets a bounce, no volume. That's just in a range. I don't see anything there. Let's see the financials. Financials had a nice big move up. Oh yeah, here they go. So the financials also giving it to us. So there's two now indexes giving us breakouts. Right, coming over these tops and going after the swing point highs at the highs. Let's look at the weekly, and it's got the same thing. Breakout on multiple time frames if you actually get this follow through off of whatever the election results end up being. XLI, a nice big move there. Two swing point lows or highs taken out, still in the range on the big weekly. XLK, this one got hitting hard. Big spike back into a swing point low. It's into this one as well. So that looks good, but it's got more work to do. So that doesn't tell us anything yet. XLP. So we have two. We have financials and transports. XLP. Really nothing there. XLV had been really hammered. They got a bounce today, I'm sure, off of the biotech, but really nothing there. XLY, which is discretionary. And back into the swing point lows, and not enough anything there yet. So a couple sectors leaning quite bullish, one of them being a big one, the other being part of the Dow theory. That's not bad company. So positive. I like what I see. You know, I've been telling members all along, and I've kind of said it here, is that, you know, I expect this market's going to trade higher before the year's out. And you know, you're going to have tough patches, and that was a tough patch for the last 2 months. If, in fact, this can follow through, then we got something much bigger taking place. And if that's the case, then expect those higher prices to come sooner rather than later. The risk, and I'll go back to that since I didn't highlight it, I'll show it now, and I'll go to the weekly to show it. The risk now is a failed bounce, right? And that's the thing you got to be watching for. You're coming up, right? You already had ABCD structures to the downside they completed, right? That all took place. Now you got the little bounce coming off of this. You already got the higher high, higher low, so that gives you on the next move, right? That gives you the B point, right? It's telling you you've got a B point, and right now that's your B point. You got to bounce wherever the bounce carries to. If it's up here, if it's here, wherever it is, right? The failed bounce is what you have to worry about. In other words, you come up, you reverse, and you keep going down, and you break. Because if you break the next one, there's nothing under it, right? And you're going to go after swing point lows the next time around. This is a critical move on the indexes. Has to hold, has to extend. That's the deal. Have a great one. Take care. Good night.